Okay, so in the midst of all that's going on, it's Ask Tina Day. Morgan, whenever she gives me a card that's got all this writing on it, I'm like, all right, this is from Shelia. My 22-year-old son had cancer, and on New Year's Day of 2012, he put a gun in his mouth and committed suicide. It's been really hard to move on. It affects every part of my life, and I miss him terribly. Do you have any advice? Oh, Shelia, Shelia, Shelia. First, I want to say that my heart goes out to you. That, and it goes out to your son. And so we take a deep breath. And, you know, in that deep breath, we become aware of and present to the reality that life is complicated. And that life really can be difficult sometimes. But it is important for us to also realize the difference between that is difficult and then the ways in which we add to that difficulty, complicate that difficulty, make it weightier. And one of the ways that we do that is by thinking that what's going on in our lives should not be happening. And I just want you to know how much I feel for what you're going through. And with that said, I must say that this is life. So you need a community where you can have conversations with people who understand, who can be there with you in the ways that you need. So if you aren't doing some sort of grief counseling, I suggest that you explore that, because you've said it has impacted every area of your life and it's been hard to move on. So get yourself a community. Number 2, I know that now is a time that you might be really confused, frustrated, and even angry at the universe. But now is also a time to acknowledge how you're feeling. So make sure that you are talking to your greater force, whatever you call that force, God, the universe, whatever. And if in fact you are wanting freedom, if you want to move on, if you want to know how to move on, if you want to move on, have that conversation. It can look like, this is so heavy on my heart. This makes me so angry. It makes me feel so, whatever your feelings are. Acknowledge that and ask, how can I move on from here? And if there's a part of you that doesn't want to move on, that is angry and feels like being right where you are is what you want to do and where you're going to be, acknowledge that. Acknowledge that you're angry and you don't want to move on right now. As long as we make it clear that we are congruent with ourselves, that we know where we are, we know what we're doing, then we are in a level of conscious participation, and that's good. And when you are ready, and if you are ready, then you literally say, I am ready to move beyond this God. And you will begin to experience shifts in how you think that will, and the people that you meet and the conversations that you will find yourself in. I'm going to tell you that a very, very simple reality helps me. I understand that this universe that we are in, it was actually born from collisions, things bumping into other things and creating this complicated thing called life. Your son, life bumped into him in the form of cancer that wasn't personal. You know, it was. And that bumping in created a space, and he responded from that space in a way that created something else. Life is bumping into life, creating more life. You can be more conscious of the life you are creating if you just simply know that this is life, and you get to choose how you see it and whether or not you see it as being against you. I love you. I hope that there is some part of what I have said that resonates with you, and I thank you for asking, Tina.